I'm also the president of the Neighborhood and Community Media Association of Greater Cleveland. We're a collection of about 16 digital and print news outlets, also electronic outlets throughout the city. I want to explain the format this evening. I'm going to ask a few questions of our distinguished guest, the mayor and the new member of his cabinet, and then we're going to open it up for questions later on. This town hall is being broadcast or live streamed over Facebook and also the City of Cleveland's website, Facebook page. So we have, I understand, several members of the city administration here, and I've been advised that they're each going to take a moment to introduce themselves. So, of course, we'll begin with our 58th mayor, a native son, and a proud product of the southeast side of Cleveland.
Thank you so much. First, we are in Dr. Hedgeman's church this evening. So I want to first just thank Dr. Hedgeman for hosting this town hall in my hometown neighborhood in the southeast side. And this is the first time I've been back since we had my grandma's homecoming service here. So it's an honor to be here to celebrate all the great work we're doing to revitalize the southeast side, and we look forward to the conversation here this evening.
Glad to be here. Marvin Owens, Southeast Side Senior Strategist. But I think I've known Dr. Hedgeman longer than you. So I'm thankful for this church and for this ministry. It's been so important to our family over the years. But I'm extremely excited about the role that I play on the Southeast Side and learning how to bring back investment to our neighborhoods and revitalize a part of Cleveland that has been in desperate need for a number of years. So excited about this new role and looking forward to the future.
And we also want to introduce some folks I know here. Tom Vanover, who's the chief building official. A long history of working with the city. I don't know the lady on the end.
Director Hernandez.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Hernandez. I'm the Director of Community Development for the city and grateful to be here with you tonight.
Hi, good evening. Marty Kane, Director of Public Utilities.
Hi, folks. Jamie DeRosa, the Director of Capital Projects.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Tewan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer.
Good evening. I'm Angela Shute-Woodson, Senior Advisor to Community and Government Affairs, in addition to Director of Community Relations.
Sammy Morris, Deputy Chief, Field Operations, Cleveland Division of Police.
Good evening. My name is Mo Brown. I am the 4th District Commander.
Thanks, Mo. Wayne Drummond, Division of Police, Chief.
Good evening. Frank Williams, Director of Public Works.
Good evening. My name is Asia Aaron. I am the Southeast Side and Community Development Liaison.
Good evening. Bradford Davey, Chief of Staff.
Hi, everybody. Fatima Harris with Communications.
Good evening, everyone. Ahmed Abunama, Chief Financial Officer and Finance Director, and this is Leo.
Hard to follow Leo. Jeff Epstein, Chief of Integrated Development. Good to be here.
Good evening, Mary McNamara, Director of Aging.
Hello, Dave Margolis, Director of Public Health.
Orlando Wheeler, Commissioner, Cleveland EMS.
Great. We also have our Councilman of Ward 2, Kevin Bishop. Let's give him a round of applause for his amazing leadership. He has been a great partner for us as we have been trying to get as much done as we can to move the Southeast Side forward. So thanks for your leadership, Councilman. We truly appreciate it.
I think every member in the audience can take note that when you have this much firepower in the room, that's a testament to the importance that this administration is placing on this new effort. And to begin, I'm going to ask Marvin if he can talk a bit about the new position as the Southeast Side strategist with the City of Cleveland, and why you think this position is going to make a real difference for this community and in this city.
I think it's important to kind of highlight the fact that there's not been a Southeast Side strategist before this moment, quite honestly. And I think it is important because what it says is that this mayor and this administration has made the Southeast Side a major priority. I also think it's important in how the thinking that went into the position, meaning that I work out of the mayor's office. And so that means I have access to the whole of the government in terms of resources, in terms of information, in terms of being able to sort of rally the troops around this issue. So it's really a key position in a lot of ways because it allows me to be able to function in a way that works with all the departments of the city to move it forward toward the redevelopment of the Southeast Side. It's also important to me personally because my family are residents of the Southeast Side. And so the opportunity to be able to bring what has been 2 decades of community economic development experience in New York and in DC and come home to Cleveland is an exciting opportunity.
So obviously we're in Ward 2 this evening, but when we talk about the Southeast Side of Cleveland, how large an area is that? Give us some sense of what we're talking about.
Wards 1, 2, and 4 at this point. So we're talking about Mount Pleasant, Lee Harvard, and Union Miles.
And those areas have become synonymous in some eyes with a phrase that I think is in the Southeast Plan called concentrated disinvestment. So talk to us a bit about what that means and how you're going to address a long-standing phenomenon.
I can take that. I think it's important to set the context of the history of this part of the city and how we got to this moment. Before my grandma, Sarah Presley, bought her first home on 121st and Dove, at the time she came up here from Alabama, you know, the Southeast Side was a beacon of the Black middle class. The other factoid that folks don't really recognize and may not know is that before that, it was a beacon of the Jewish middle class in Cleveland. But then you had a couple of headwinds hit Cleveland and really hit the Midwest. First, the deindustrialization, right? Jobs got outsourced overseas. You didn't see as many jobs in the steel or manufacturing sector in the urban core. That was a major headwind. The second headwind was structural racism and redlining, where banks stopped investing in this part of the city. Then you get forced integration, busing, which really led to white flight. And what's striking about that is even when I was growing up in the Southeast Side in the 1990s, it was still a somewhat prosperous Black middle class neighborhood. But what we saw was after 2000, as the technology revolution happened, then you get the Great Recession. And since the Great Recession, those housing values have not recovered. And in this moment now, what's really unique about the Southeast Side is that it has a long, strong history and a lot of great strengths. And what we're trying to do with our Southeast Side plan is build on those strengths. And so we've taken $15 million of American Rescue Plan investments from President Biden, and we want to do 5 things. The first is we want to take $5 million to repair and rehab over 250 homes in these core micro census tracts, because stabilizing the housing stock is critical to get a long-term economic foundation and a long-term economic base. The second thing we want to do is be very focused and targeted in those large-scale sites, and we want to incentivize folks to develop on those sites. Let's think the old JFK High School, which we have an RFQ out as we speak to think differently about how do we catalyze the old JFK High School as a major, potentially mixed-use development in the Lee Harvard neighborhood. And the third thing that I think is very important, we know that small businesses and neighborhood-based businesses are the backbone of our local economy in Cleveland. And so we want to take an additional $5 million to restore those main street commercial corridors, because we all know our main streets determine what happens on our side streets. And this is a targeted intervention. It's not a panacea, but we believe it's an early down payment to make sure we have a long-term growth strategy for the Southeast side to benefit all of Cleveland as a city and as a region.
So to that last point, it sounds obviously like there's been a great deal of thought that's gone into this plan. So say a bit more about why strategically it's important for the Southeast side to receive this kind of attention and investment.
Well, when you look at all the data that we see in our city, and I want to make sure that Marvin has a chance to chime in on this as well, health disparities, homicides, low rates of air quality and other environmental justice issues, a majority of those issues and problems are concentrated in the Southeast side. And for us to really tackle those issues head on, we needed a bold but targeted economic intervention to address that. And I don't believe that Cleveland as a city will be viable or competitive long-term if we don't have a bold strategy to build Black wealth and revitalize Black neighborhoods in our city. So it's our goal, once we are successful with this plan for the Southeast side, to scale that to other parts of our city, because historically, as a city, we've been spreading our resources like peanut butter, which hasn't allowed us to generate the long-term maximum economic outcome that we need as a city. And so once this intervention is successful, we believe this can be an approach that we can deploy and develop in all parts of Cleveland long-term. Marvin, anything you want to add to that?
Just that it's important to start somewhere. I mean, there are a number of communities in Cleveland who could benefit from this strategy, and the hope and the expectation is, in starting on the Southeast side, we'll learn how to get it right and be able to sort of iterate in a way so that we are able to kind of take the strategy and apply it to other parts of the city. It's important to understand that as the Southeast side goes, the whole city goes. And so I've heard the questions about why not other neighborhoods, why not other communities. It's not a question of why not other communities. This strategy should be applied in other communities, but we're starting on the Southeast side, and it's a really good place to start. As a friend of mine always talked about the fact that when you find good ground to begin with, start with the good ground. Start with these spaces right now and build out from there.
So I want us to get down into the details of some aspects of this plan, but before we do that, I want to ask, as you were putting parts of this plan together, where did you find successes in other communities for this sort of approach that you wove into what you're planning to do now?
You know, I think we all have examples of where we've seen targeted economic interventions work across the country. Two come to mind immediately to me. One, the U Street area in DC. When I was a freshman in college in DC at American University in 2005, which feels like ages ago, by the way, you couldn't get a cab to go to U Street, right? And it was then a predominantly Black neighborhood with a lot of economic and societal challenges. But what DC did under the leadership of Marion Barry, former Mayor Tony Williams, Mayor Fenty, and now Mayor Bowser, is they had a 20-year strategy to remake and revitalize U Street. Now, have they gotten things right completely? Absolutely not. But what did they do? Number one, they built on this idea of U Street having strong Black cultural assets, from go-go music and jazz clubs to the fact that Howard University sits right in the U Street area. They had strong engagement from members of their city council as well as the mayor's office, and they had strong engagement from faith-based leaders in that neighborhood as well too, which allowed them to make some big bets. And while you've seen some aspects of this word that I hate because it means so many different things to so many different people, gentrification, a lot of Black folks have made a lot of money in U Street because their housing values have gone up. Now, were they missing some aspects to mitigate displacement? Absolutely. But at the same time, I think we all recognize that, unfortunately, when my grandmama passed, her housing value never recovered. We expected that to be a legacy wealth transfer event for our family. That has not happened, right? So we want to change the economics of that here in Cleveland, specifically in the Southeast side. The other example is Harlem. And you had many members of clergy, as it was actually a CDC led by a church that revitalized Harlem. I'm talking Malcolm X Boulevard and Frederick Douglass Boulevard in Harlem. The same key ingredients, strong Black cultural assets, from the Apollo Theater to the great churches, to the great jazz clubs and restaurants, to the fact that that has been a beacon of the Black political movement, just not in New York, but across the nation as well too. So for me personally, those two examples are my North Star in terms of how I'm thinking about how we as a city should be focused on leveraging our assets in the Southeast side. Marvin, what do you?
The key element to both those examples I want to just kind of highlight is the presence of the faith-based community and the role that they played in that revitalization. And I mean, that's a key component for me, given my background and my experience. I know that churches and congregations have a key role to play in any revitalization plan. And in the city of Cleveland, that's certainly true. And so part of what we're doing also is understanding how to ensure the fact that our congregations are aware, are engaged, are providing the kind of insight and understanding into our plans as they go forward, and helping to shape what we do going forward. Because these churches are local institutions and have really held it down for decades. When disinvestment was happening, these churches stayed and continued to work and continued to serve. And so I think it's important that they play a role in what the future of the Southeast Side looks like.
Hence why we're having this town hall at a church.
So
you can clap for that.
So share with us some detail about what your plan for the Southeast Side looks like, and maybe we can start with those aspects that will address blight and deterioration, and also the housing stock in the city, this part of the city.
Well, the first thing I want to mention, and then I want to have Marvin kind of chime in on what we've been doing already as it relates to public works, cleanups, and really addressing some of the blight and deterioration we've been seeing in the Southeast Side. Our administration several months ago introduced, probably, in my opinion, the boldest, most comprehensive strategy to address this issue of a failure to really think adequately about Cleveland's housing stock. We have a major issue in our city when it comes to vacant properties and predatory out-of-state landlords who prey on our communities, particularly in this part of the city. So we introduced our Residents First legislation to do a couple things. Number one, finally bring types of policies you see in our suburbs, like point of sale inspections for vacant properties. So if that's good enough for Shaker and South Euclid, it should be good enough for Cleveland, Ohio, in my opinion, because we deserve that same level of enforcement in Cleveland. Number two, one of the biggest challenges we have is who do we hold accountable when a landlord is not in Cleveland and the HVAC has gone out, the roof has collapsed? Who do you hold accountable when they're hiding behind these zombie shell corporations. So this legislation now creates a local agent law that you have to have somebody in the region, in Cuyahoga County, that we can hold accountable in a court of law when they aren't taking care of these properties. The third thing this does is that it gives us more teeth around our lead safe ordinance. And I know we've made some great progress on lead, but we have a lot more work to do to hold our landlords accountable, but to give homeowners the tools they need to ensure that no child in our city is ever poisoned by lead paint again. So the real estate lobby might not be happy, but I want to stand on the side of residents when it comes to this legislation. And I'm optimistic and hopeful that City Council will hear the legislation and pass our legislation. But if we do this, then I know this will go a long way to giving us the right foundation to have the kind of housing stock that all of our residents deserve, not just in the West Side or downtown, but in the East Side as well, too.
I would only add that it's important that we look at the strategy from the perspective of really strengthening the existing housing stock that exists here. And when I first took this job, I said to a bunch of folks that it's clear that the residents have already made the investment. The homeowners who are here on the Southeast Side have already made their investment. What hasn't happened is that we haven't seen the follow-on investment from the city, from philanthropic communities, from our banks. And so now's the time to call those partners to the table and say, let's meet these residents in terms of their investment and show up with more investments. So part of the strategy is to really get those other entities actively involved in repairing housing and rebuilding our housing stock and really helping to really make the Southeast Side what it should be. But it's going to take everyone's engagement. It can't be just put on the residents as the only ones responsible. We as government, as well as those who are in the philanthropic community and in the banks, have to also play a major role.
So as the residents of the Southeast Side look at their community, they see and have seen for some time blighted properties, overgrown lawns. They've experienced issues with failing infrastructure. So I'm going to call upon maybe your Director of Public Works and whoever you designate to respond to what is the city beginning to do, and how is the picture of the Southeast Side going to change? What can residents expect as they see new things?
Director Pastor Frank Williams will address that question. Frank.
Thank you. So just to talk about a few things that we did. Through our traffic group, we painted control boxes, we repaired signals in the area. Our waste group, we installed 15 new receptacles, the new style that we're going to be using throughout the city. We got those in this area first. We also did 30 refurbished lids for the receptacles in that area. The Division of Streets did multiple areas where we did street repairs, areas where we milled down expansion bumps, repaired lights and things of that sort. But we really looked at things from a perspective of safety. One of the big things that we did over 75 crosswalks got painted in this area, and over 79 stop bars were done in the area from a place of safety as well. The Division of Parks did tree trimming, and that was a really big help for the area. The tree trimming, a lot of trees were overgrown. We did over 68 work orders for just in that Kinsman area alone for tree trimming, and we've gotten a lot of feedback for that as well. And then we did a lot of vacant lot cutting. And one of the things we're doing with that program is, many of you've heard that we're starting to use local contractors to help with our vacant lots and vacant structures. So what we hope that taking the pressure off of some of our crews using those local contractors will help us to be in the vacant lots more often to help with the overgrowth in those areas as well.
And one of the things I want to build on, Director Williams and his team did such a great job, particularly in the Kinsman area with their Public Works Surge Initiative, that it actually inspired more community residents to do more beautification on their streets. And so it's a really prime example of what local government can do in collaboration with community to beautify our neighborhoods, right? Because we can't fix every street by ourselves. We want to, and I want to, but we want to give a signal to our residents that we're going to do the best we can, but we need your help as well in terms of cutting your lawn a couple times, planting some trees, planting some flowers, taking pride in your home and your household, because that gives your neighbors confidence and it creates competition who can have the best lawn on the block too. And so it's so important that we continue to do that. The other thing I think it's important to highlight is we see so many issues in our city, not just in the southeast side, but all across the city when it comes to vacant lots. And historically, local government has been terrible in terms of thinking about how do we aggressively manage these vacant properties in a more productive way, but eliminate the red tape so that residents, business owners could do a garden or solar panel farm or a pop-up food market, or if you've been cutting that vacant lot, maybe we should just give it to you, right? So, because we can't cut all these vacant lots in perpetuity by ourselves. So under the leadership of my Director of Community Development, my CFO, and leaders in city planning, we are coming up with a very bold and aggressive strategy to take these assets off our balance sheet and have a productive strategy to give more residents the tools they need to take these vacant lots off our hands, because many of y'all know what we need to do on these vacant lots better than we do at City Hall. And we want to give you the tools to help us make that dream a reality in our neighborhoods.
So let's pivot from discussion of vacant lots to what some would say would be an argument to have even more vacant lots, referring specifically to reports that maybe 1 in 4 structures on the southeast side are blighted and ought to be torn down. What's the plan for that? How does that fit into?
Tom, you want to hit that for me?
Yeah, hello, Tom Vanover, Chief Building Official. So that's a discussion that we have and have had. So just briefly, 2003, a much younger me came to work for the city as, for the first time, as a building inspector in Union, Miles, Lee Harvard, and Mount Pleasant. So I've always had a certain affection for that. And to the mayor's point, where we've been spreading our resources like peanut butter, that's challenging and has been challenging to do. My dad always used to say, you're peeking through a scolding looking for a whooping. And the new southeast side, this initiative and this focus is the whooping. It's the whooping to the out-of-town, out-of-state owners, to people that own blighted and neglected properties. So what we're doing at Building and Housing is earlier this year, late last year, we started and we did a complete survey of 167,000 parcels. It's every parcel in the city, because we didn't, you don't know what you don't know. And immediately after that, once we knew what we knew, we began with the mayor's office to strategize what are we going to do with what we know. And we immediately started looking at state of Ohio forfeited properties, all of the properties that were graded Ds and Fs. We began to put boots on the ground doing inspections for whether they need to be condemnation, whether they need to be immediately boarded up or immediately raised. But with an understanding that they don't necessarily all need to come down. So that's the conversation that has been going and ongoing, working with our partners and working with community development. What do we do with these properties that could be saved and could be? One of the things that I was always most impressed with in this part of town was the people, because you're strong folks. I mean, and we would walk the neighborhoods and I'd hear, I'd hear from the folks on, once they saw who we were and what we were doing, come out and tell us this house and that house. And, Mrs. Wilson, she left here 6 years ago and that house is still. So using that information, as the mayor has said, to put resources and to work with tools on those blighted properties. But as importantly, working on the 100F properties as well as the state forfeited properties to get them in the pipeline, get them condemned, get them raised, with a focus on a neighborhood and an area like never seen before. No more peanut butter.
So you're talking a lot about beefing up the performance and achievements of your department. Do you have enough resources to do that? You got to hire? Are you hiring people to go out and inspect these properties and do what needs to be done?
So the answer is yes. I mean, it's work. It's work, and work takes people, and it's hard work. We've done some things. We really looked at that because it's, there's no paper tigers, right? All the legislation in the world doesn't matter if you don't put the boots behind it. So we've made some changes to positions that are required, but we also have lobbied through the budget, through the budget coming, and through City Council for more folks to focus on this and to do these things. So just shameless plug, we will be hiring inspectors. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your friends' neighbors. So keep watching our postings, because we are planning to put folks in place to do the work that needs to get done.
Okay. The next question I have can be either for you or to bring Marvin back. Talk about the commercial corridor funding program and the home repair program.
So those two programs are the two legs of the three-legged stool that we talk about the Southeast Side strategy. So the commercial corridor program is a program that we're standing up that will really engage in white boxing or preparing commercial corridor, commercial storefronts for lease. And if you look at what's happening up and down Kinsman, if you look at what's happening up and down Lee Road, some 131st Street, 93rd Street, on Miles, on Harvard, there are a number of storefronts that are sitting vacant and sitting in disrepair. And so this program has been established to be able to kind of begin to white box those properties in a way that prepares them for tenants. So small businesses will be able to move in. The other part of the program of the commercial corridor includes public realm grants. So what that is are grants that will be given to entities who are, if you're a business owner and you want to expand your commercial storefront, or if you want to create a parklet or build murals or do some beautification, this will be grants, keyword grant, that will be available to those persons who are trying to do that. There are also some acquisition loans that will be available for people who are interested in, if they have a business and they're interested in buying a building to put their business in. We're creating a program for that as well. And then, of course, the housing and home repair stuff is also out there, so that this is not just about the commercial corridor, it's also about the residents who need resources to be able to repair and rehab their homes. One of the things that we've had to do, and it's a sad state of affairs, is because of the lack of access to bank funding and bank financing, we have had to kind of leverage this ARPA money in a way that will prime the pump to really incent others to come alongside to help. $5 million is not nearly enough to get the job done. We're going to need help to get that done. And so we're hoping that this $5 million will ultimately be leveraged so that other banks and other entities will come to the table and also support this effort. So those are the two major pieces of those programs.
When you emphasize grants, you didn't say, but you probably should say, grants don't have to be paid back. Is that what?
That's free money.
That's what grants are. That's what grants are. That's right. That's right.
And we've already secured, we made an announcement several months ago with Key Bank, $2.5 million for our home repair, home rehab program. We're in conversations with Lisk and Key to raise an additional nearly over $100 million for a dedicated fund to support more affordable mixed-use housing development projects in the Southeast Side as well too. So there's a lot of good things happening in the pipeline.
Okay, I want to take a break here, and it's 6:45 to see if we have any questions from the audience.
Mayor Bibb, thank you for allowing this powerful staff to come out with you this evening. And
Tell me your name, brother.
I'm Pastor Tim Eppinger, and I pastor God's Tabernacle of Faith Church in Ward 1. And
Good
Joe
to see you
Jones
again.
is our city councilman. I heard that it was mentioned about faith-based organizations participating, being involved, but it seems like we're announcing from the pulpit and our people are getting information, but what are you doing to help them navigate the system so they'll know how to have access? Because sometimes what's happening, they don't feel as if they qualify, or they don't know what the paperwork process is, or if they're eligible by being able to be in the right Southeast neighborhood, and how they can not only just get access, but then be walked through to the point that they can have the finish line result that they're looking for. So what are we doing to make that? And let me just say, I've been in Ward 1 since I was in junior high school. I'm a John F. Kennedy graduate.
Boy, that 10 years ago?
Oh, yes. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I pastored 2 churches in Ward 1. I just can't get away because I love this community and I love what's been happening. And to revitalize the community like you're doing is just a powerful statement for what Ward 1 has been. I know Ward 1 Southeast encompasses more than just Ward 1, but we've been, as far as voting, all the way back to Carl Stokes, we've been a powerful voting tool in the city of Cleveland. And to think that you all are coming back doing this is magnificent.
Thank
so
you.
what are you doing as far as the navigation?
Thank you. Well, we've done a couple things. Number one, we've hosted town halls like this all across the Southeast side since the start of the year, particularly with small business owners, getting their feedback, hearing about their challenges navigating City Hall. Last year as well, we got a grant from Huntington Bank to hire an entrepreneur in residence. Roz, I don't know if Roz is here this evening, but he's been talking to business owners all across the Southeast side, helping them navigate the systems and processes. And just last week, or earlier this week, I believe, we hosted for the first time ever, a tour of City Hall for small businesses from the Southeast side. For a lot of folks, they had never been in the building before.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely right.
And so, and he did a tour of every floor. Where's community development? Where's economic development? Where's the law department? Where's building and housing? Just to show them how to navigate the building. And so we're going to continue to have more hands-on programming like that to get your feedback, to make sure we're doing everything we can to support folks like you navigate the systems and processes.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add to that, Mark?
Yeah, I also would add that I think we've also been working very closely with partners. You also have here in the Southeast side some powerful community development corporations that have been here a long time. So Harvard Community Service Center, Union Miles Development Corporation, these are local CDCs that are really focused on outreach and connection to residents and getting that information in residents' hands.
How you doing, Mayor? My name is Derek Jackson, and I'm a barber. I'm a black business owner for 30 years. And I was forced out my business by the 4th District Police. And I've been talking to everybody, trying to be heard. I took these officers to trial. None of them came to trial. No body cam video was played at my trial, and I thought the body cam video protects the citizens. Well, they were able to do this, and nothing has been done to these officers. And I want to know, where do I move next? Because I've been forced out my business to work in Cleveland Heights, and I don't like it in Cleveland Heights. I'm from the city of Cleveland. I've ran my business in the city of Cleveland for 30 years. I'm Zach Reed's barber of probably 25 years. I'm Michael Cox's barber for probably 25 or 26 years. And these officers have done me wrong, and there's no solution to it. But when I found out you were gonna be here, I felt that I should come to you. I went to OPS, and this office also helped these officers. Now, everything that I'm telling you, I have paperwork, I have evidence. The case was so bad that the judge, he wrote about it. I have what he wrote about it. And I took them to trial. I was found not guilty twice. My firearm license are took to 2026. And I have not been convicted of anything. Now, I believe if I was a different race, a different color, if you call the police, they will help you. These officers did not help me, and they put me in jail from my place of business twice. I was in the middle of a haircut twice. So I was arrested twice at my own building, cutting hair. In the first arrest, I left and went to work in Cleveland Heights.
Yep.
A judge gave me the right to work back at my building. I still didn't come. But they chased me out here, so I had to go back to my own building and work.
Yeah.
Soon as I come back to my own building, 3 months later, I was arrested again. And
Mr.
nothing was
Jackson,
done.
Mr. Jackson, I'm sure that you're raising some serious questions. I want to give the mayor and
thank you for
police officers a chance to respond.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
First,
Thank
I want to say thank you for coming tonight. Thanks for telling your story and the courage to
Thank
tell your story.
Thank you.
I want to have just Chief Drummond offer some comments to see how we can look at your complaint and look into it for you.
Thanks, Mayor, and I appreciate your comments. I don't know the particulars, the nuances of your particular case, but overall with the Division of Police and any police department, but in particular the Division of Police, there are processes that we go through. Generally, we have complaints that come in, and you're probably aware of that. We have complaints that come in, they're assigned to the various districts. In this particular case, it's the 4th district. The officers respond to those particular, at least my expectations that they, and I'm sure the citizens as well, expectations that they respond to complaints. And again, I don't know the particulars of your particular case. I'm just talking in general, and I kind of get into some of the processes that you probably went through. They respond to the complaints, take the information through their investigation to a prosecutor's office. Prosecutor's office will give them the best course of action to take, and obviously goes to court and goes through that particular process. And it sounds like you went through something similar to that. Now, if you believe that you were wronged by an officer, you mentioned the Office of Professional Standards, OPS. That's an avenue for all citizens to take if they felt or feel that they were wronged by a law enforcement officer, in particular a Cleveland police officer. And it appears that you went to that particular process as well. So we have processes that it appears that you're following. Now, the outcome of that, those processes are not on the Division of Police. We don't make the final determinations or decisions on that, but there are processes. Again, it sounds like you went through those particular processes. So I encourage anyone that believe that they were wronged by a Cleveland police officer to file a complaint, an official complaint through the Office of Professional Standards, which, by the way, is an entity separate from the Division of Police. They're independent from the Cleveland Division of Police, and they have their processes that they go through. So I'm sorry that you went through the issues you went through. Again, I don't know the nuances of those.
I've been waiting patiently for, this is 2023, I've been waiting since 2021.
Okay.
And nothing has been done.
So I'm gonna have the chief and Commander Morris, Mo Brown, talk to you after the event, and we can follow up.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll
Thank
follow
sir.
up with you, sir.
Appreciate
Thank you for your comments.
Yep.
Chief, while you have the mic, public safety is an issue throughout the city.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about staffing in the police department, and shortage of officers, and what you're doing to address that.
It's a really good question. I figured it's going to come up because that is an issue relative to our staffing. We're down almost 300 officers, and we're in the process of trying to hire as many as possible. I don't have a shameless plug. I'm plugging for that we need officers here in the Cleveland Division of Police. We are accepting applications. We test quarterly here. So we need good people to become police officers here in the city of Cleveland. And it's important to understand, too, that staffing for police departments is a problematic throughout the United States of America. It's not unique to the city of Cleveland. So please make sure we're clear. It's not unique here in the city of Cleveland. It's just staffing issues throughout. And so there's a finite amount of people, qualified individuals that police departments here in Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, state of Ohio, and throughout the United States are actually vying for. So with the Mayor's Rise initiative, we're moving towards that endeavor to try to recruit really good quality people here become police officers. We've increased our salaries of our officers. Since the Mayor Bibb's been in here, it's about 25% increase in salaries. It's historic. Officers now with 5 years experience are going to make just under $85,000, and that's significant in comparison to where we were before, which makes us very competitive with our counterparts here in the county and through the state of Ohio. So that's one thing that we're doing, trying to get more staffing, is the salaries and so forth. We have tremendous benefits, and again, it's the same shameless plug. We have tremendous benefits and so forth. And the other thing we're doing is we're changing how we deploy, so we be more effective and efficient and maximize our service and deployment, so we can provide better coverage and service to you, our residents. Part of that is we're going from 10-hour, 8-hour shifts to 12-hour shifts, which again maximizes the amount of individuals we can get out to the street, again, provide you better coverage. And also, this is equally as important, it gives us to have a good work-life balance for our officers. They'll have more time off to spend with their families, which is really important. We're talking about officer wellness. Plus, additionally, we're offering $5,000 sign-in bonus. Again, $5,000 sign-in bonus for those who want to become police officers. If you have a college degree, there's an incentive, financial incentive for that as well to become a Cleveland police officer. We have, if you're currently in a police academy separate from ours, and you successfully complete that, we have tuition reimbursement, because it costs about $6,000 for that. The city of Cleveland will reimburse individuals for that as well. So there are so many different things, and incentive, again, based from the Mayor's Rise initiative that we're doing. That's just part of it. Others, I can get into the particulars, but I don't want to take up too much time. So we're doing what we can to increase our roles. We have an academy that's going to be scheduled for first quarter of next year. We're hoping to have a decent size based on all the incentives that we're talking about.
Is there an age requirement?
Well, we're getting ready to change that soon.
Exactly. I didn't want to.
So more to come.
Yeah,
more to come.
More to come. I don't want to get into it.
And on top of that, one of the biggest issues we had in getting folks into the police academy was we were only paying $16 an hour.
Yes.
Now it's 24. So we doubled that, a 50% increase. And now, if you compare our police pay to any other law enforcement agency across the state, we're in the top 3. Before we got in office, we were in the bottom, 75%. And we did it in just 2 years. And so I think it shows our commitment as an administration to invest whatever we can to support our police department and to make sure we have enough officers to keep our city safe and secure.
Thank you. I think I saw some more hands here. Okay.
You got to turn that mic on, brother.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dennis Harris. I'm a proud resident of Ward 2. I grew up in Ward 1. I went to the greatest school ever, John F. Kennedy, Mr. Eppinger.
Y'all all say that.
John F. That's what Eagles do. That's what we do.
I may have to disagree with that, John Hay Hornet.
I know. We lost to you, Mr. Drummer. I ain't gonna talk. We'll talk offline. No,
we'll talk offline.
We'll talk offline. But you know, one thing, I'm glad you said that, Mr. Drummer. This one great schools. We have that pride of schools. I went to Kennedy. I taught at Kennedy. I see Mr. Moore, John Adams Rebel. What do we have for our schools? Education. I'm looking around here right now. You know, a couple years, we won't be around. Where plans do we have for the kids, the youth, the education? You know, building back the pride of John Adams, which used to be the largest school in Ohio. Bringing back the pride of John F. Kennedy. Bringing back the pride of John Hay, which I married a John Hay girl. It's so important that we have the schools involved in this plan. What plans do we have? Because everything you hear is, you're 100% correct. With the renters, hitting those renters, the lead, that's great. But it's about these babies.
Yeah.
What do we have for these kids in that plan?
Thank you, Coach, for the question. I'd say a couple things. Number one, when we took office last year, we made it a major priority of our administration to make sure not only we supported CMSD for everything that happened inside the school, but how do we as a city do a better job of being a city for families and young children? It's critical for the future of Cleveland. So we've done a couple things. Number one, for the first time in history, last summer, all 22 of our rec centers were fully programmed with summer learning experiences, and we had trauma-informed social workers in every rec center across our city for the first time in history. Programming like a free summer camp at Camp Forbes, STEM learning, music classes, robotics, chess, etc. And those investments aren't going to stop. The second thing we're focused on is, as a city, we have never done a comprehensive master plan of all of our parks and rec centers. And so as our city has declined in population, it hasn't given us the right kind of capacity and tools we need to make sure that every park and every rec center has what it needs. So this master planning process is going to inform how do we as a city invest better in our parks and in our rec centers. And then tomorrow, our new CEO of CMSD, Dr. Warren Morgan, is going to give a state of the schools. He's going to have a lot to say about how we as a city must do a better job to ensure that every school, regardless if it's on the west side or the east side, has access to equitable services. Because that's the biggest problem we see right now. And I'm going to support Dr. Morgan in making sure we make that vision a reality in Cleveland. But thanks for the question. Appreciate it.
We have a lady over here.
Dr.
At the
Hedgeman?
door.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I think my question might be directed to a couple people in the room, but as we talk about a new strategy for the Southeast Side, if a church is interested in acquiring some of this property, what kind of partnership or support is available to help walk them through? Because oftentimes pastors have visions, but we don't know about all of that red tape that needs to be taken care of to get to the destination, and sometimes that's just enough to make you want to drop out.
That's a great question. I think that it's important to highlight the fact that the city has amazing partnerships with organizations like LISC and like Enterprise. LISC is a national organization, Local Initiative Support Corporation, and Enterprise is the other organization. They both have extraordinarily good faith-based development technical assistance, which I think has been something that we haven't talked a lot about. We need to talk more about it. That churches can get the technical assistance, hands-on technical assistance, to understand what community development looks like and economic development looks like. You know my background. I began my community development career with a 40-member church organization that was doing community development in Brooklyn, New York. Churches can play a significant role in turning a neighborhood around, turning a community around, if you have the right kind of technical assistance. So that technical assistance is available.
Director Hernandez.
Hi there, Alyssa Hernandez. I have to state here that we are fully acknowledging that we walked into systems that don't necessarily work. And so what all of us have had to do as leaders of our departments is to do a lot of assessing. Are people working in the right places? Do we have the right processes? Do we have the right procedure? Are we communicating well? And with those answers, we found that there's a lot lacking. And so what we have done in the past year and a half, almost 2 now, is really work hard every day to do the things that nobody really likes to talk about, not the big initiatives, but the making sure that the person at the front desk is being responsive to your request, making sure that somebody is answering the phone, making sure that our processes are clear and concise so that everybody can access whatever resources we have available. That simply was not happening in the way that it needed to. And it's not happening now, but we are working furiously as we reorganize, as we plan, as we decide our policies to make sure that we are covering that ground.
Question in the back.
Yes, how you doing, Mayor? My name is Mac Warren. Just had a question about a lot of impact that you stated from Harlem and all these other corporations, but in Harlem, there initially was a touch to outreach youth. They went to the grassroots organizations. They went to see and saw that the neighborhood was developed by the young men and young ladies that was in the community that no longer is empowered or taught how to hold a job or the skills of a job. As at this point, when you stated that there was 21 recreation centers, they was up and active, but there was no support for a lot of the muni leagues. There was no equipment for them. There was really barely any safe space. And I know you grew up in this area, and you grew up down there by Dove Park. And at that point in time, Dove Panther was gone. At that point in time, when you was right down the street from there, Tony and them had the support with Dove and all the other little recreation centers. But not just only that, the mentorship that the neighborhood within empowered themselves. As in the senses, they went and reached to the grassroots and said that to make the neighborhood safe for kids to be outside of John Adams release and Nathan Hale release. There's more police out here now than when they get out of school. If I go to a suburban drive, there's police post up at a short number just to make sure the kids are safe. They are taught at a young age at 7 and 8 and 10, where our youth program, the YOUT program, used to fund kids' summer program, summer work program, and the number went down in half.
Yep.
So when you were talking about empowerment and to re-engage this area, the first thing is our kids, as in the sense of grassroots there. And no taking from the churches from the 40s and 50s was very powerful. They controlled our community. There was a growth for our community. If you need something, you went to the church to receive it. At the day of the now, after the COVID, the church still have power, but the number of things that they reach out to is limited. So if you don't go to the community or put that as an arm, how can we change the whole community if we don't change our youth here?
Let me just address, I think you had 10 questions in that question. First, I want to address your point about Muni football. With this budget we just passed last year with city council support and their leadership as well, Muni football got the most money they've ever gotten from the city of Cleveland in this past budget, and we're going to continue to give them more money as we look at next year's budget. The second thing I want to also address is we saw last year as well a major issue with violent crime in our high schools, particularly in the Southeast side, at John Adams and at JFK. So what do we do in response? We did a couple of things. Number one, we brought the chief of police of CMSD, Chief Wayne Drummond, RTA, MyCom, and other key community stakeholders around the table to figure out how do we do a better job of coordinating a safety plan for children as they go to school, when they're inside the building, and when they leave to go home, right? So now, for the first time ever, RTA is now coordinating their bus schedules with those targeted CMSD high schools to make sure that those bus schedules are synced up so kids are safe on the bus. We've also integrated all the cameras at CMSD in our real-time crime center with our police department to make sure we have more eyes on what's happening in and around the school to keep children safe. Now, you talked about what we're doing to invest in youth. We're doing a couple things. Number one, we recognize that we cannot believe or solve issues around public safety with just a pure police response. That's why our administration did what no other city in the country has ever done. We've now taken $10 million of American Rescue Plan funds from President Biden. We parked it in the Cleveland Foundation, which is going to help us generate up to $15 to $20 million over the next 10 to 15 years to give the city of Cleveland a permanent revenue source to invest in programs that you just talked about. Because historically, we've never had that before, right? Because I recognize that at City Hall, our budget is finite. And so if you have an idea to engage young people, the application is open. I want you to apply and be a part of the solution. No, we're giving out a whole lot more money. So the other thing I also want to mention, Ms. Hood is here from JFK. I've been meeting with young people every quarter since I took office last year. And we are now talking about a special student advisory committee just for the Southeast side to engage young people in the visioning of how we reimagine this part of the city. And so we welcome your ideas, but we are doing everything we possibly can to engage young people to be a part of the solution in this community and across the entire city of Cleveland. We got one more question?
The lady by the door has a question. We've been trying to.
Okay. We got two more questions then.
How do you come to acquire a vacant lot?
Vacant lot. Director Hernandez?
I'd be happy to talk with you to walk through that process. But right now we are and this goes directly to what I was saying earlier, we're changing processes so that we can get to a system that works for all of our residents. And so as we are getting ready to announce those policies, what I can tell you at this point is that it'll be easier to acquire, that we have changed our policies, that we are no longer holding on to properties, with the hope and prayer that there's going to be development there. And so we're getting a real idea of what needs to happen on each of these lots. So more to come on that very soon. Really excited about the changes that you're going to be able to see as you drive through and as you get to your house and look outside. But happy to actually walk you through what that process looks like today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joyce Hood. That's one of my residents in the back. This wonderful lady here. The thing about it is, and I thank you. Every time I call, come to Kennedy, we need help. The young people are out there. They're working. They're doing a lot of things. The only thing that I'm asking from you is to help market us. They don't understand that we are doing stuff. We work directly with the 4th District. Game night, he can't play the game, but he tries. But I thank you for the time that you spent with us. Every time I call, no, I'm not Kennedy alumni. I'm a rebel. But I work at Kennedy to help make sure we get that energy for our young people. So please market this so they would know that we're doing something. These young folks are powerful. Great point. Thank you.
I got a question for Chief Drummond. With all those great benefits, I'm 83. Can I become a police officer?
Auxiliary, yes. We certainly can use yes. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Last one, and then,
Mayor Bibb and Mr. Owens, since 2021, when the ARPA dollars came, could you give this public an outline of the success stories that you had with homes and with business and your connections? Because it takes a long time to plan. People think when we get to $500 million over 2 years, the money's just here. Could you explain to them and let them know about the successes we've had?
Yeah, I'll outline a couple of big projects. Today we're talking about one that's critical, is the $15 million investment that we're deploying in the southeast side. Secondly, one thing we didn't talk about is our largest allocation is a $50 million investment to do a couple things. Number one, did you know that the city of Cleveland owns over 1,000 acres of brownfield land? A majority of that land is, guess where it is? The east side of Cleveland. So what's happening in the country right now, because of COVID, American companies are saying we can no longer build things and outsource stuff to China. We got to build stuff in America again. And so we are building things in America again and building things in Ohio. We get calls every week from advanced manufacturing companies, IT companies, healthcare companies, food distribution companies. They need 20 acres of land, 30 acres of land, 50 acres of land. Guess what? We ain't got the land ready to go. So for decades, we've been missing out on jobs in our neighborhoods. So we took $50 million of ARPA money. We are now converting 1,000 acres of brownfield land in our city and making that land shovel-ready job sites in our neighborhoods so we can create a walk-to-work agenda. Preliminary data shows when we get this right, this has the potential to create up to 65,000 direct and indirect jobs in the urban core of our city. And these aren't minimum wage jobs, but jobs paying at least $25 an hour. That's going to go a long way. In addition to that, with the support of City Council, we also just passed legislation to finally close the digital divide in Cleveland. $20 million to connect up to 50,000 households to high-speed broadband with the support and partnership of Digital C. But guess what? There's more coming. Because of that investment, we attracted a $500 million private sector capital investment to lay fiber in every part of our city. So Lee Harvard's going to have fiber, Kinsman's going to have fiber, Union Miles is going to have fiber. Because we got to invest in the next generation right now. We can't wait 15 years to make that investment. And because telecom companies were digitally redlining our neighborhoods, we as leaders at City Hall decided to step up and encourage and incentivize that kind of investment now. We can't wait for these telecom companies to invest. So that just gives you a highlight of some of the big ARPA investments. All right, last question over here. You can yell, I know.
Yep. Good? Okay. My name is Dylan Sellers, pastor of Purpose Community Church here in Cleveland, born and bred. Actually, I went to high school on the west side. I'm a Ram. So go Roads.
Go Roads.
I want to say two things. One, really quick, you're doing millennials proud.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the work that you're doing. To that point, how do you, I know that this plan is a long-term plan, how do you incentivize our generation to move into this neighborhood, right? There are programs like we're facing student loans that are on our back that don't make us as eligible credit worthy as our parents were to buy a home, right? But there have been programs I've seen in cities that we're tempting to move to, right? Who would help me with my student loans just to move to their city, right? Because I'm doing the work. And so what kind of incentives are you looking at to move our generation into these communities so we can raise families here?
That's a great point. I'd say a couple of things. Number one, we have some more work to do around that. Immediately what comes to mind, and this is a hard economy right now for anybody to buy a home when you look at interest rates. But one of the reasons why we reformed our residential tax abatement program was to further incentivize folks to buy and acquire properties and acquire homes and build homes in the Southeast side. So now we have a differentiated tax abatement program that will give you a full 100% 15-year tax abatement for you to buy a home in the Southeast side. The second thing that we've been exploring is a down payment assistance program, particularly for middle neighborhoods in Cleveland, to really incentivize the next generation of homeowners to call Cleveland, specifically our middle neighborhoods, home as well. The third thing I would say, and it's not focused primarily on the Southeast side, but a Cleveland thing in general, for a long time, we've done a terrible job as a city of telling our story. Done a terrible job, particularly in terms of attracting young talent to Cleveland. That's why when I took office last year, we created the Futureland Tech Conference, right? All focused on how do we encourage more Black and brown tech talent or talent in the arts and culture to think about calling Cleveland home. And that conference is taking off, and people are now looking at Cleveland as a destination for that kind of talent. And so I'd love to get your ideas about what else we can do in order to do that. But we need you to choose the Southeast Side. We need those early adopters to choose the Southeast Side and help us tell that story, because sometimes City Hall is not going to be the best storyteller. So we got to work with you to help make you the vehicle to get your friends to set up shop, and y'all buy the block, and we give you a good incentive to buy that block.
Mayor, I know that
Yes.
you have another engagement this evening.
I got to eat at some point.
Yes, that's an important engagement.
I might go to Mount Pleasant Barbecue after this.
So I've got so we'll call this the final question. So
Yeah.
let's just say we've had a snapshot of the Southeast Side in 2023. I want you to pick a time, and it can be, you could say 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, and we come back and there's another snapshot taken. What 3 things would you identify that would be different from this snapshot and the next snapshot that would mark real success and advancement of the Southeast Plan and initiative?
I think one, in the next 10 years, if we can see the median home value in the Southeast Side reach 6 figures and be stabilized, that's a real trend line going in the right direction. I think secondly, and this may sound crazy, but we have a lot of folks in the Southeast Side who go to Pinecrest to go out to dinner, Legacy Village, Van Aken, and it's a shame that we don't have a 5-star Michelin restaurant that we can go to. And so I want our version of a Red Rooster in Lee Harvard or in Kinsman, because we had the same kind of money as the other folks do, because we'll spend it. But I want us to spend it in our neighborhoods, at our restaurant one day. And the last thing I would say would be, I want to imagine a world where hopefully in 10 years I'll have a wife and kids and the fancy life, and I'm walking my kids to an amazing coffee shop on Kinsman, and we have a pleasant afternoon, right? Where everyone feels that kind of vibrancy and feels connected, and you can feel the soul of the city. To me, that's the vision and the dream I have for the Southeast Side.
You've given us something to look forward to, and I'm sure everybody in this room and who's watching us on Facebook is making notes and circling the calendars for 10 years from now, ready to come visit that restaurant.
Yeah, Michelin star. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you, man, for doing this. How you been? You been okay? Not right now.
I might send you some questions.